Hello, welcome back. It's Janelle from Infinite Potential Healing, and today we're just going to talk about how we integrate the astrological energies that came to us through the month of March. So we had a lot going on in the world of astrology in the month of March. There were a lot of different transits, as there typically are in any given month, and just a lot of transits that really called us to pay attention to our inner world, and then very late in the month, some of our outer world as well. And there were some very specific assignments that astrology doled out for us. So now that we are moving towards being on the other side of that, we want to integrate those lessons. We want to take that energy, kind of review it, see where we might have to lean into it, see where we might want to lean out of it a little bit, and then looking ahead at April, see how we take our March energetics and our March astrology and apply it and move forward into the month of April. So of course, the biggest transit that we dealt with in the month of March was that eclipse in Virgo that we had at the very beginning of the month. So with that, we were being called on to look at our health, our daily habits, the structure and the discipline that we use to approach them, and to really kind of take the pessimism, the judgment, definitely any self-loathing out of that equation and look at realistic action steps that we could do. It definitely was not an all or nothing, feast or famine type of assignment. It was asking us, what can we add? What little tips and tweaks can we make? What can we do? This energy from this eclipse is going to be with us minimally for the next 6 months. I say minimally because when we look at eclipse cycles, from one eclipse cycle to the next is a 6-month period of time. But if we look at the fact that eclipses always come in pairs, we're ultimately looking at kind of 18 months for each specific eclipse cycle. So knowing that, this is our assignment to look at and kind of continue to assess without judgment, without pessimism, without any sort of, that energy of being hard on ourselves or being angry at ourselves that we didn't do something sooner or we didn't figure this out before. Like that energy is the antithesis of the assignment from this eclipse. So we want to keep looking at, our habits. How are they supporting our goals? How are they supporting what we want to do? Are we living our best, healthiest, most supported life on the day-to-day basis? If not, what do we need to look at? What do we need to change? Again, that assignment did not evaporate when that eclipse moved out. That's going to be with us moving forward for the next 6 months. So continue to just have that awareness. Tuck it in the back of your brain. The other thing that we're going to continue to deal with, especially because we are not out of the Mercury retrograde shadow, is of course Mercury retrograde, all of the reviewing that we did during the retrograde period, and how we move forward as the shadow wraps up and Mercury gets closer to that degree from which he's stationed retrograde from every single day. So, I'm sure a lot of you, just like me, have had a lot of situations come up for you to review, reassess. A lot of you have probably even had some people that maybe have been absent in your life kind of come out of the woodwork or pop back up. And the potential for that to continue happening is definitely there as long as we are under that Mercury retrograde shadow. But again, the key comes into, with those people that came back, the information that came up for us to review or reassess, what are we going to do with it? So definitely take the next, period of time here, the first, week and change of April, and lean into, what do I need to do with this information that was or is being presented to me? And sometimes it's as simple as you just need to look at it one last time and then kind of release it. Take that big deep cleansing breath, blow that shit the fuck away. Other times you might actually have to more actively process it or more actively sit with it for a hot minute. There's no rights, there's no wrongs. It is what it is. And every time Mercury, stations retrograde, we have this built-in opportunity for review, and the biggest review that we can do is to review our thinking. And especially with that eclipse having been in Virgo, also ruled by Mercury, there's a big focus on how are we thinking, and specifically, how are we thinking about ourselves? So, the month of March as a whole, if we really kind of stand back and focus on it in a macrocosmic sense, we know that in the year of the wood snake that we were in for the majority of 2025 and the first month and a half of 2026, it was all about doing deep internal work. It was all about what isn't serving us, what isn't working for us, what are we shedding, what do we need to, where do we need to take corrective actions in terms of what isn't working for us. And that energy, because if you think about a wood snake, is relatively passive energy. That's why a lot of people made the correlation that if the year 2025 or the year of the wood snake was associated with the tarot card, it would be the Hermit, because we were all going inward, we were all retreating, we were all leaning into ourselves. The month of March really took us into a little bit more of an active role in terms of active shedding and active integration of what was left after we had shed. And that activity, that active energy is very much going to continue to be with us for the month of April, which we're going to talk about in another video. That active energy is going to be with us in spades. Obviously, when we come off of a year where the primary assignment is to, shed that which doesn't serve us anymore, that assignment isn't going to be necessarily completed in a calendar year. That assignment is something that's going to be ongoing. And so the shedding that we did was meant to give us an overall awareness so that we are checking in with ourselves on a regular basis and we are assessing, does this work for us, and does this not work for us? And if it doesn't work for us, the assignment moving forward is not going to be to think about it, to sit in it, to linger with it. It's going to be a very Queen of Air type energy, a very definitive, off with its head type of energy. We don't want to stay in that energy. We want to make a decision, get rid of it, however that needs to look, and move forward. And again, there's going to be a lot of activity coming in April. So don't forget that we still have this assignment kind of lingering in the background, that we still need to continue to shed, to assess, to just have an awareness of what does and doesn't work for us. Because that person that we were before the year of the wood snake came in that didn't have the awareness, that person is gone. We've shed that version of ourselves. That energy of not being self-aware, that's not going to work for us anymore. So when we lose that self-awareness, the universe is going to poke us a couple of times to try to get us to wake up. And if we don't wake up, it's going to pull that proverbial rug out from under us, drop us on our ass to make sure that we check back in with ourselves. Don't get to that point. Don't let that happen. You'll thank me later. The other thing that we need to be mindful of as we work on integrating the lessons from the March is that there was a little bit of kind of an energetic rocking that went on in terms of, we felt we needed to rest, but then we were inspired to move. And then we kind of retreated back into ourselves to consider our next moves. And then we were inspired to move again. Of the month of March. So we were still focused on getting that rest and allowing ourselves to rest as we integrated, as we shed, as we worked out those eclipse lessons and all of that good stuff, and as Mercury was retrograde. But now Mercury's direct. So as we get into April, and April's coming in hot and heavy, let me tell you, as we get into April, we still need to make sure that we are making time to honor ourselves and to listen to ourselves and get the rest that we need and take the rest that we need. In fact, we need to actively schedule and actively seek out opportunities for us to rest. And for the first little bit of April, that is not going to be easy to do because, again, we are going to have a lot of fiery energy. So take today, make some plans, look at your calendar for April, and ask yourself, where can I add in rest? That idea of adding in the rest goes right back to that Virgo eclipse that we had, to add in, not take away, not subtract, not restrict. So focus, look at your month and just, What can you take off of your calendar? What absolutely doesn't have to be done? Where can you build in rest for yourself? How can you reframe the idea of resting and make it a little bit more active and a little bit less passive? So that is how we are supposed to carry and what we were supposed to integrate from the astrology for the month of March 2026 forward into the month of April and in many cases beyond. So go forth today, look at what you have coming up, make some plans, check in with yourself, and happy integrating.